Good morning, everyone. How are you? Today is Tuesday. Today we are learning the eighth Perek of Kesuvos. Sorry for the delay this morning. Um, trying to make sure this doesn't happen again. Okay, today's shiur is the Ili Nishmas Aaron Nachum Simcha Kohen Shomar Chav Shep Sabrach L'Sov Shmo Leib. Rabbi Moshe Ben Yosef Meir Den Hashem Zahav and Aliyah. And for Shlema for Yisrael Merachalei Rachel Bas Pasal Zelda. And special shout out to our good friends at the Imperial Advisory Group, helping companies with their CFO needs. If your company needs a new CFO, fractional CFO, please reach out to them at imperialgrp.com. Okay, they are the sponsors for Seder Nashim. Thank you very much for your support. Here we go. Perek Ches Mishnah Aleph. We have a few pakim left of this Masechta, another few days. It's Kishmak, you know. Okay. So we learned previously. We learned throughout this Masechta so far that when a couple is fully married, the wife's property, meaning that he has the right to use it to his advantage. And this Mishnah will discuss whether a wife may sell her property or give it away. There may be restrictions on her doing so even before the chuppah, since she will thereby deny her husband the opportunity to take its produce in the future. The Mishnah deals with four cases, and we'll go through all of them now. Okay, here we go. Ha'isha if a woman inherited property before she had Erison, before she was engaged. Modern Beisham and Beisil Shemacheres and Oselis V'Kayim. Beisham and Beisil agree that she may sell it or give it away during Erison, during the engagement, and the transaction stands. Since she acquired the property before when she was single, or she, so that she's allowed to sell it or give it away even after she is engaged. However, she can only do so during Erison and not after Nisuin, when her husband already has the rights to the produce. Next case, Naflala Mishnah's Arsa. If she inherited property after she was betrothed, after she had Erison, Bisham Amin Timkor, Bisham says that she can sell it during Erison before her husband has any rights to the produce. Bishil Amin Lo Timkor, Lo Timkor. Bishil says she may not sell it because she had already she that it she was already what that when she acquired it, she was already engaged to her husband. Therefore, she is usher to sell it and deprive him of his future rights. However, they agree that if she did sell the property or give it away, the transaction stands, and and you move on. I'm Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Amru lifnei Rabban Gamliel, the Chachamim said before Rabban Gamliel, Hawel, Zacha, Hawel Zacha Be'isha Lo Yiske Benachas. Since he gained the woman when they got engaged, she should he not also gain the produce that she acquires after the engagement? Of course, he should, he should gain sufficient control over the property that if she sells it during this period, during the engagement period, during Avison, he can take the property back from the buyer after Nisuin, after the chuppah. So why then does Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel say that the transaction stands? Maybe the transaction should be bottled, must be nullified. Amaleher or reply to them, Al Hachadashim Anu Boshin. We are already ashamed of our failure to understand the law regarding recent property, meaning the property that a wife acquired after the chuppah. We don't understand why a husband can seize from the buyer property that his wife acquired and sold it after the chuppah, as we're going to learn next. And now you're going to add the law of all property, the property that she acquired during the Erison, to our problems. I mean, your suggestion that they could even seize property that she had acquired and sold during Erison. We're dealing with the new one now. What, you think about the old problems too? Not for not the third case. Not for Lamisha. This says if she inherited property after she was fully married. Eila Mode she Machra Venasta Shabal Motzi Midei Halakuchos. Beishamai Beisil agreed that if she sold the property and gave it away, the husband can take it out of the buyer's possession. Since the husband already has the right to eat the produce, she cannot take that right away from him and give it to another person. The fourth case, Shalom Nisis for Nisis. If she inherited property before she was fully married and was then fully married, yeah. So Rabbi Gamliel says that if she sold the property and gave it away after the suing, the transaction stands. In this case, when she acquired the property before the suing, before the chuppah, when the husband did not have any rights to it yet, she gained not only the property itself, but also the right to its property. Therefore, even if she sells the property after the suing, the transaction stands and the husband cannot seize it from the buyer. So, I'm Rabbi Chanina ben Akavia. Rabbi Chanina ben Akavia asked the question. I'm with this name Rabbi Gamliel. The Chachamim said before Rabbi Gamliel, since he gained the woman when he fully married her during the suing, should he not also gain the property that she owns? Well, why then is it that the transaction stands and he's unable to seize the property from the buyer? Should it make a difference when the wife acquired the property, whether before or after the chuppah? Either way, if she sold it after the suin, when the husband already has the right to its produce, she should not have the capacity to take that from him. Therefore, if she did sell it, he should be able to seize the property from the buyer and his produce. Chanina ben Akavia disagrees with Yehuda's version of the argument made by the Chachamim. They're both telling over the argument in different ways. But Yehuda said earlier, the Chachamim were referring to the Mishnah's second case, where the property was acquired and sold during sin. But according to Chanina ben Akavia, however, the Chachamim were referring to the fourth case, where property was acquired before the suin and sold after the suin, so therefore the din would be different. Hold on. Okay. Amalaham replied to them, we're already ashamed of our failure to understand the law regarding recent property. And now you want to add the law of all property to our problems? You're saying that he could even seize the property he acquired before he sued and sold it after he sued? What are you talking about? Mishnah Beis. Rabbi Shimon chalek ben nechasim and nechasim. Rabbi Shimon differentiates between one type of property and another type of property. Nechasim, how you do in the Baal, lo simcha. In the case of property that's known to the husband, he knew before the sale that she owned it. She may not sell it or give it away. And if she did sell it or give it away, the transaction is void. The husband can remove it from the buyer's possession. She'enan, he's doing about low simcha. However, in the case of property that is not known to the husband, did not know before the sale if he owned it, she may not sell it or give it away in the first place. But if she did sell it or give it away, the transaction stands. The Chachamim did not award the husband the produce of his wife's property unless he knew that it belonged to her. Therefore, if she sold the property that he did not know about, since he's not entitled to its produce, the sale is valid and he cannot take it from the buyer. Gimel. Mishnah Gimel. Nafla la ksafim, if she inherited money, yilkach bahen karka v'hu ochel peros. And land should be bought with it and given it to her, and he may eat the produce of the land, of that land. Perus hatlushim karka. Similarly, if she inherits fruits that are detached from the land, yilkach behen karka v'hu ochel perus. Land should be bought with them and given to her, and he may eat the produce of the purchased land. And mechubarim bekarka, if she inherited fruits that are still attached to the land, plus the land itself, Rabbi Meir said, Shaman osan kama hein Yafin the Paris become a Yafin below Paris. We reckon how much the land is worth with the fruits and how much it is worth without the fruits. Then, with the value of the difference, more land is brought and given to her, and he eats the produce of the new land as well. The Chachamim say, fruits that are attached to the land belong entirely to him. Since they'll be picked after she inherits the land, he gains the right to its produce. The fruits are his. Only if the fruits were already detached from the land when she inherited it, they belong to her. In that case, land should be bought with them and given to her, and he eats the produce of that land, as we learned previously. Okay, Mishnah Dalet. Shimon says, Makom shiyufa kocha bechisasa hora kocha b'yitziyasa. In the case where a husband's rights are stronger when he marries his wife, his rights are weak when he divorces her. Makom shora kocha bechisasa yufa kocha b'yitziyasa. And in the case where his rights are weak when he marries her, his rights are strong when he divorces her. This means fruits attached to land that she owns when she gets married and which are picked during the marriage belong to him, as we said in the last Mishnah. The fruits attached to the land that she owns when she gets divorced and which are picked after the divorce belong to her. With respect to attached fruits, the husband's rights are strong at the time of marriage and weak at the time of divorce. However, fruits that were already detached from the land that she owns when she gets married belong to her. The fruits that were already picked from land that she owns when she gets divorced belong to him. In regard to detached fruits, the husband's rights are weak at the time of marriage and strong at the time of divorce. Mishnah Hey. If she inherited old slaves or old maid servants who cannot do much work, and the husband wants to sell them and use the money to buy something that will generate more profit for him, Yimachru, they may be sold by the husband even against her will. The Yilchach behan karka will ochel perus, and land is bought with them that is given to her, and he eats the produce of the land. Shimon ben Gamliel says, "Lo simcha b'nei shehein shevach beisaviyah." She can force him not to sell them because she can claim that they represent the glory of her father's house. Although they're old now, they still nourish the wealth and prestige of her family. If she inherited old olive trees or old grapevines that do not produce much fruit, they may be sold as firewood, but by the husband, even against the wife's will. And land is bought with them that is given to her, and he eats the produce of the land. But Yehuda says, she can force him not to sell them because she can claim that they represent the glory of her father's house. If one spent money on his wife's property and then divorced her, whether he spent a lot of money and ate just a small amount of produce, or he spent a small amount of money and ate a lot of produce, what he spent what he ate, meaning that where he spent more than the land produced, he must suffer the loss and cannot claim any compensation from her. Likewise, where the land produced more than he spent, he takes all the profit, does not have to give anything to her. Hotzi below achel. If he spent money on the property but did not eat any of its produce and then he divorced her, Yishava Kama Hotzi V'yito. He may swear as to how much he spent and take that amount from her as compensation. Since he did not benefit himself at all, but only benefited his wife, he has the right to be compensated. Got a couple more to go. Mishnah Vav. Shemeres Yavam Shinafula Nechasim. Women awaiting Yibum inherited property. Modim Beishame Beisila Shemacheres and Mosenes Ukayim. Beishama and Beisila agree that she may sell or give it away while awaiting Yibum, and the transaction stands. Because the Yibum bond is not strong enough to prevent her from selling property while awaiting Yibum. That doesn't work. Mesa, if a woman awaiting Yibum died, so what should they do with Ksuba? Meaning the 100 towards the Zuz, and put the base amount of the Ksuba, any amount added by the husband who was nifter, then the value of its own parcel property. What do you do with all that money? And what should they do with the property that enters and leaves the marriage with her? Do they go to the Yavam, or does her family inherit them from her? I mean, they have no kids because she's the Yavam. So, do they go and then she dies? Does it go to her family, or does it go to the Yavam? So Beishamai says of the heirs of the husband, mean the Yavam, divide the Nechsibelug with the heirs of the woman's father. Because we're not really sure whether the Yavam has the rights to the property as though he had married the Yavama, or whether he does not have the rights. But since they're not certain, they will let both sides divide the Nechsibelug property equally. Beis Hillel said that some Barzel property remains under its previous status. And the Ksuba remains under its previous status, belonging to the husband's heirs, since she never had any claim to that money. Because the money, right. The woman has no rights to the ksuba payment until after her marriage ends, either through divorce or the death of her husband. Although the Yavam's husband dies, since she is bound to his brother for Yibam, she does not have yet a right to collect the ksuba, and that's according to Beis Hillel. Which Beis then agrees with that. The property that enters and leaves the marriage with her, to the next Melug, is not divided as Beis Shammai said, but rather remains under its previous status of belonging to her father's heirs. Because Beis Hillel hold that the Yavam does not have rights to Yavam's property. Mishnah Zayin. If her brother left his money, Yokach Bahen Karka Ocha Pirs. Land should be bought with it and kept for ksuba payment, and he eats the produce of the land. In this way, the value of the inherited money is preserved and the Yavam still benefits from it. Pirs Hatalushim Manakarka, if his brother left produce that is detached from the ground, Yokach Bahen Karka. Land should be bought with it and kept for a ksuba payment, and he eats the produce of the land. If his brother left produce that's still attached to the ground, Amar Rabbi Meir said, Shaman Osan Kama Hain Yafim Appears, the Kama Hain Yafim Lo Appears. We evaluate the fields on which the produce is growing and see how much they are worth with the produce and how much they are worth without the produce. And with the value of the difference, the land should be bought and kept for Ksubah payment, and he eats the produce of the land. The Chachamim say, if his brother left produce that is attached to the ground, it is his. If you left produce that was detached from the ground, whoever is first acquires it, meaning that Kodam Huzacha, if the Yaham is first, he acquires it, may do with it as he wishes. But if she was first, if she took the detached produce from her first husband in his lifetime as collateral for a ksuba, she acquires it in the sense that it becomes mortgaged to her to a ksuba. Therefore, land should be bought with it and kept for a ksuba, and the yavam eats its produce. Kansa, once he marries her by performing yibam, she is like his wife in every respect. Except that the security for a ksuba rests only on the property of the first husband, not on the property of the yavam. And the last Mishnah for today, Mishnah Ches Lo Yamar La Harik Subasich Menachas Al Shulchan. Excuse me. He may not say to her while they are still married, the money for your ksuba is lying on the table. He cannot limit the property for a ksuba to money that he sets aside. Rather, all of his brother's properties are placed to a ksuba. And similarly, a man should not say to his wife, the money for your ksuba is lying on the table. Rather, all his properties are placed to her ksuba. If he divorced her after performing yibum, she has the right to collect only her ksuba and may sell any of his late brother's remaining properties. If he remarried her before paying the ksuba, she is like all the women who, if they get divorced and then remarried the same man, they are entitled only to the original ksuba. And therefore she too is entitled only to the original ksuba. And she could collect only from the property that her husband inherited from his brother and nothing else. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow for Perek test. So wonderful day.